I'm actually going to start on something a little bit different, because it's something that I know that you do a lot of that a lot of other businesses don't. And how important do you think innovation is now in terms of businesses staying alive? And because I think a huge shift has happened that I've seen a lot recently, where the majority of businesses that I deal with and actually see are spending a ton of time and attention on the marketing and the sales side of their brand, yet there seems to be very little innovation or actually improvement in the product itself and the actual kind of end product. And I know you've got a lot of time and attention into not only the product but also the ability to make the products.
Innovation's everything, I think, and when you say people put loads of effort into marketing's obviously everything is really important, but I think marketing is so much more efficient and works better, as maybe you found with us, if the product that you're trying to sell or the thing you're trying to sell is really, really good. If you've got something just that people want, then marketing becomes very easy, and having something really good comes through innovation. So I think you've got to be constantly innovating, especially in an industry like the fitness industry. It's changing very quickly. I think you've always got to be ahead of the game. You can't be a follower. You need to be somebody who's kind of setting a tone, but when you set the tone, then you really understand what's needed. You're not just following a trend. I think innovation is incredibly important.
The reason I asked that is because you recently put a post up on your Instagram which showed a few pictures from like some of the first things you ever produced, and it really got me thinking that. How long ago was that you did those?
So that would have been 99, end of 98, 99.
Okay, so
showed the very first things I made.
And it goes to testament that you've obviously grown continuously since. And how much would you say you've improved your actual end product in that period since you started?
Changed loads in the way it looks and the way it feels. Right from the start, I always wanted to make really robust kit that would last. That just fairly simple but incredibly strong kit, and the idea of the lifetime guarantee was something I had from the start. So in terms of how solid the kit is, it's always been that way. What's changed a lot is the look and feel, and the functionality of the kit has improved over the years. Improved things like having, like when I first started, I didn't have 3D software to draw things, so it was very much trial and error. You'd make a machine, play around with it, tweak a little bit. It was very slow and involved, and because it was so slow, it almost kind of you not rush things, but you wouldn't be as thorough as you can be now with really good 3D software, of testing every different scenario and seeing the best way of making something. So technology's helped us a lot to improve the products.
Talking of which, I know you're massive into robotics and kind of you're shifting a lot of your manufacturing process to more computer robotic generated stuff. Like why do you feel that is something that obviously you're going in very early on compared to a lot of other companies? I know you're trying things that other companies just simply haven't yet. Why do you see that to be the future, and how do you see the kind of manufacturing in the UK changing?
Yeah, definitely. I think any engineering company, any manufacturer that's not using robotics within the next 3 or 4 years is going to be gone, because it just makes you so much more efficient. There's jobs we do like dumbbells, so loads of dumbbells. So we've got a guy 3 guys running 24-hour shifts, running 8-hour shifts, 24 hours a day.
That's good.
But it's just loading billets into a machine. And the trouble is, you can't just put anybody on that job. It's a very simple job, but it's still, every single time, it's got to be done exactly the right way, because the consequences of not doing it exactly right is the machine crashes and then it's down for days while it's having an expensive repair. So you need 3 skilled people doing a job that it's probably a bit boring for them. It's not really using their skill, but it needs to be them doing it. So that kind of work, when you replace those 3 people with a robot, it's just so much more efficient. The job's done exactly right all the time. Obviously, robots.
Do you see that increasing the quality of the Watson products long term?
Increases quality. It would do the job exactly the same as people, but it massively helps us and increases quality, because then those people, we don't want to lose people, those skilled people can then do much more beneficial things. They can do things that's really going to help the end product. They can move on to other things where it really needs attention, and they can work on improving other things that otherwise would have stayed flat for a while.
So do you feel now that the way you're structuring Watson is giving you the ability to do things that other gym manufacturers can't?
Yeah, I think we're in quite an unusual position where we're a company that's small enough to adapt and change very quickly, constantly innovating, constantly coming out with new products, which a lot of the big companies maybe don't so much or as quickly. And yet we're big enough where we have got an incredible manufacturing facility that nobody else our size really has. The technology we have, the ability to make really advanced products in a very efficient way is something other people haven't got, unless it's a very big company that's then kind of set in their way of doing things, and for them to change is a very slow process. To come out with a new product takes a long time. Most bigger companies have shareholders and board of directors. Things have to go through. Profits is always top of the agenda because people want their dividend payments. Here it's just me and a really good team, so we can change really quickly. My focus is on growing the business. I don't care about putting out loads of money from the business. I want to reinvest and keep growing it, and I think that gives us the edge over everyone else pretty much.
Do you think being a bit smaller and having a lot of I know you do pretty much everything in-house, does that enable you to fulfill a lot more kind of tailored and custom built orders and things like that?
Yeah, because we have a lot of customers want the products we got, but with little tweaks. Maybe their ceiling's a bit lower or something, so we need to adapt and change things. But also massively is customization in terms of upholstery and logos and things.
Yeah, I know we talked about that, because obviously I'm considering getting my home gym done in the next couple of years. I'm very big on my brand and obviously how I want things to look. So I know we talked about the ability to have pretty much any colour, any logo embedded.
I mean, colours for a long time, companies have offered different colours, different upholstery colours, but we've taken it kind of way beyond there with
I love the Bentley stitching and things like that.
With the brushed leather and Alcantara and stuff. We're now offering all the different stitch patterns and things we're offering is really pushes the kit to a different level. And because people that train in the gym quite often take a picture in the gym with dumbbells and things, so for the gym to be able to have their logo on all these pictures that are going out, it's just really powerful, and it helps the gym build their own brand.
As you know, I do a lot of marketing, and I do a lot of marketing in the fitness industry, and I think, especially with what's just happened with obviously the lockdowns and everything else, and the pressure put on things, I think branding your gym and having something that is actually going to build value in terms of the asset through branding and people knowing where they are and everything else, and having the ability to do that is so important. And obviously you offer that as a service to people is insane. And I know that going off a slight tangent as well, we were talking a little bit earlier about pricing, because I know that you're very transparent about your pricing, and we discussed that. Why is it that you versus other gym companies? Because I know a lot of people don't like to put their prices online and everything else. Why is it that you've decided to be completely open with your pricing? Because I know that a lot of people...
Well, I always tend to run the company in a way that I know I'd like things to be. And to be honest, when I want to buy something, you go to a website and there's no pricing, it's called for pricing, I tend to just leave and go somewhere else. I don't know why pricing would be a secret. Price is a price. So even you go on a Rolls Royce website or something, the price is there. You can build your own car, it tells you how much it would cost. So to me, it makes sense to have all the prices displayed. It's no secret, and it just speeds up the process. People can add, they can go to our website, they can add things to a basket, see what the price will be, and they know what they're going to be paying. It just makes sense to me. I don't quite know why other companies don't do that, but it's certainly something we'll always do.
And talking about, you said obviously about delegating. something that I'm learning myself, but how did you manage to build a team of I know you've got such an amazing team here. How do you think what was your trick to building such an amazing team where everyone's really pulling their weight and doing their job really well? Do you have like a secret formula to it, or do you have a special hiring process? For me, like, I find it very hard to find good people, and you've got a great team here. So
we have got a really good team, but it's taken time, and it was trial and error. If I could go back now, I'd spend a lot more time finding the right people. Even up until a few years ago, we'd always be kind of rushed into taking people on. We'd be so desperate, we'd be desperate for more people just to keep up with capacity. So you just take on somebody that can do the job. Whereas now we're much more looking at the type of person, seeing their mindset, just what their goals are, what kind of person they are, and taking on the right person, because we can always train them to do what we need to do here. So it's more about them rather than their skill set. So it's been very much trial and error, finding a good team. But once you start, like now we've got a really strong, really good team. The people that come in just naturally seem to be better.
So you found that by having a good structure and a good team, you've actually got better applicants.
It seems now, if somebody comes in who isn't right, it just stands out of mind.
Right, so you've got a culture within the business now that you've kind of you know what you're looking for.
I mean, anyone, even anyone on the shop floor, if somebody comes in working with them that isn't right, you can just see it. It stands out. So it's becoming easier to take on good people now. Plus, also, I think as we get better known as a company, people try and they want to work for us. So we've had people move. I had somebody recently move from Cornwall to Frome just for this job. So yeah, it's definitely getting easier.
So actually interesting. You said what you would have done differently. What kind of a bit more of a personal question, like running a business, like out of the last kind of since running Watson, what are the kind of three main things, or if you can name three of them, that you think that if you could go back, you would probably refine or do anything different, like maybe mistakes or things you've learned from that you would encourage other people that are involved in business? I know you're a very inspiring man. You've obviously done wonders with Watson. I know a lot of people look at you as a business persona as well as obviously an engineer and everything else. But what advice would you give to people, or what would you necessarily do differently if you were starting up a manufacturing business or any other business from scratch? What are the three things that you probably would do differently or be able to give advice to?
It's hard because now I really see the benefit of investing in people and kit and stuff to improve. And I remember back at a time with people telling me, "Oh, you should buy this because it would make you quicker or whatever," and I didn't at the time. And I think at the time it was the right decision.
Do you think that it's something I've been thinking a lot about recently, because I help a lot of people in business and I give a lot of advice. Do you think people can be taught from other people's mistakes, or do you think people have to make their own mistakes to actually learn from them? Because as much as you can give people advice, and I'm sure people have given you advice, you still made the mistake anyway and you had to learn from it. Do you think to be a successful businessman, and I deal with a lot of successful businessmen, every single one of them has all made mistakes? Do you think to be a credible businessman that's actually going to be successful long term, you actually have to make mistakes?
Yeah, I think you do. I think you have to learn from your own mistakes. You have to, because you have to understand when you know the right way, when you find out the right way of doing it. If you haven't gone through that hardship of realising why that's the right way, it doesn't carry the same weight to you. You need to know. You need to know why you're doing it that way. So yeah, I think you need to go through that hardship, and it's character building, and it gets you, it ensures you're the right person for the job anyway. Because if everything's so easy, at some point something's going to go hard. So you might as well have a lot of hard stuff right from the start, and then see if you are in the right industry. Because if you're doing something you don't really enjoy, when things go hard, you're going to give up, and they're going to go hard at some point. So you might as well early on have loads of things to learn, and if you can battle through it, it makes you very, very very strong and resilient, I think, and then prepares you for bigger stuff later on. Because the things I've got to worry about now and deal with are so much bigger than before, but in my head they're the same kind of size.
Yeah.
I mean, if building units and things now that we're doing, if I was doing that right at the start, I'd be completely lost. But what we're doing now feels the same in my head as back then buying an angle grinder for £50. You know, it was a big deal then. I haven't really got £50 to spend, you know. But so you learn as you go. You learn how to deal with issues.
Yeah, I also think as well that at any one point everyone has like a certain amount of stress, and I just think from my personal experience, I don't know if you agree, that because I thought the same thing the other day. I was like, if I some things now that I don't even find stressful, I would have like nearly had a heart attack over like 5 years ago. But I think it's that I have a stress level, and what happens is when I'm so much more busy and have so much more different stresses, the stress allocation to each one just gets smaller because it just totals it up to 100% stress. And like I see some people that just don't have a lot going on and they'll get stressed about the smallest thing, but to us it's small because we have 1,000 of those things going on. But if you combine them all, I think the stress level just stays the same.
Exactly.
I think so. I think it's just as learning.
I see what some people get stressed about.
But because you're dealing with so much. But like you said, if you go back in time when you probably would have done one of those things would have been highly stressful to you. I think it's just you just learn how to deal with lots of.
Yeah, and I think it's how you look at stress as well, because if you look at stress as something that's purely negative, there's no way to overcome it. You just see it as a big hurdle. If you look at stress it's just a problem you have to overcome, then it's almost a fun thing. You know, it's not bad. So I've always got stress to deal with, but I never feel stress like that wearing down, damaging to your health.
Yeah, I think stress is a term that's too generalised, because like you say, there's different variants of stress, and stress I think can be a very positive thing. Stress can be a push to go and do something, can make you get up and go. But like you say, it's your perception of that stress that dictates how productive. Because I don't think anyone on the planet is not stressed. Like you say, I think the way people cope with that stress is purely their interpretation of the way they.
I think to have a life with no stress would just be the worst.
I think it's impossible. And like you say, the worst.
It would just be the worst thing. If you want to achieve anything in life, there's going to be obstacles to overcome. There's going to be hardship and
you only grow outside of your comfort zone, right?
Exactly.
No different to growing your body physically. You have to apply stressors to it.
Exactly.
And it's a way you perceive that, whether to be a positive thing because you're growing from that stress, rather than it's just crippling me and it's a negative thing I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, you definitely need to be constantly doing things that take you outside that comfort level.
Yeah, and that stress is, and I think we're fortunate enough to be able to put that stress on ourselves. So it was something that we chose to have. So then I'm like, well, if I chose to put it on myself, that's a privilege, and I'm privileged to be stressed right now because I'm able to to build and grow from the stress that I'm putting on myself.
Exactly.
So if you for anyone else out there that's maybe looking to get into kind of engineering or building a similar kind of business as yourself, what would be like your advice to get started? Because obviously I know the internet and everything is different from obviously when you started, but if you were going to start again now, how would you go about getting moving and getting started?
I think now in some ways it's much easier.
Okay.
Because when I started,
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I think now in some ways much easier in terms of getting people to see what you're doing, because with the internet it's way easier. In 98, 99 there obviously was internet, but it was not everyone was using it, and it was very slow, and you didn't have all the campaigns and things you can do now. So I didn't use internet at all when I started. I put a little ad in Exchange and magazine, which is like a monthly magazine where you sell general things back then.
Like the Friday ad?
Yeah, just
Was it a local paper? Or was
No. Industrial Exchange and Mart was all over the UK.
Okay.
It might have been weekly. I think it was weekly, and it was people selling. Not. I want to sell my bike. It was. You've generally got a business.
Okay.
And
So
you're
Friday was obviously like
promoting things on your business, but very cheap to advertise there. But so slow. So I had a tiny ad. People would phone me up. I'd speak to them.
Do you remember what was on the ad?
Yeah, I've got a copy somewhere which
We'll have to dig that out. That'd be cool.
It's very simple. Same phone I've got now, same phone number, but without the 7, it will change to 07, didn't it?
Yeah.
Pre-7. So people would phone me up. I'd then send them actual pictures, because I used to take pictures, get them developed, get multiples developed of things I've made. Send them the photos, and then phone them back 2 or 3 days later. Did you get the photos? What do you think? Can we do some deal? So very slow. To get a deal generally took a couple of weeks, even just to sell something like a bench. So it was slow and hard then, really difficult and expensive just to get a sale. But the easier thing then is there was a lot less people doing the same thing. So when I first looked to start making gym equipment, I had a look around to see what was available in the UK, and I probably found, I think there's about 5 companies in the UK making gym equipment.
Right.
That was it within the UK. Now, if you looked now at everybody making gym equipment, I mean, there's loads. There's loads. So a lot more competition now, but much easier to reach people. So it's just very different. Easier to reach people now, but much harder to do something that puts you above everybody else. You have to really stay ahead of the game there.
Would you recommend going out on your own and trying to start up from scratch, or would you recommend trying to work for some company like yourself, learn how it works?
It totally depends on the type of person.
You
need, with stress, you need to be able to cope with stress. You need to be able to get home and switch off and not be bothered. Otherwise, because starting any business is going to be hard, especially like manufacturing is very. But probably when you start, you'll be doing all the work yourself, as I was.
Yes.
I was selling, I was making, I was delivering.
I call it solopreneur.
Yeah,
at the very start.
You do everything, and you need to do that. You need to go through all that to learn. So very, very, very hard until you start slowly bringing people on, employing people, and then all your problems move away from doing all the physical work to all the problems you've got with employees that every company has. So. Problems just move around.
Quickly going off a slight tangent, you mentioned obviously there's tons of gym equipment providers now. Why is it that Watson is expanding at the rate it's expanding and getting the market share it's getting? What do you think that sets you apart, that customers love about you versus the competition?
Well, I think we've built a very trusted brand. Okay. People know what they're getting with us. We're true to our word. We've built a really strong brand, but also I know a lot of the companies, there's a lot of people that learn how to weld and they turn that into a business. I left school at 16. I did an apprenticeship in aircraft engineering, military aircraft engineering, which teaches you to a very, very high standard. So I think I had a great grounding in engineering, learning how to do things to a very, very high standard. And I've certainly brought that into the business here. Everything we do has kind of got me overlooking it, and I don't let anything go that's not 100% right, and that's definitely had a big effect on us from the start. Just what we put out, everything's made to a very high standard, and things that people might not notice. You've got a seat adjustment, it's got bearings in it rather than a metal-on-metal contact as most people would use. There's little things like that which you might not notice, but you will notice 10 years down the line when one of them's got a wobbly and ours is still nice and solid. So yeah, I think my background in engineering has had a big impact on where we are now and where we're going to continue to go. Definitely.
You said something earlier about keeping your promises and being a trustworthy brand. I think one of the biggest things I read online, especially as a marketer and in every industry going, a lot of people make promises they can't keep. Do you pride yourself on the fact that if you say something you deliver, and how much do you think that has an effect?
Definitely, always do. I think a lot of it, because it's my name, which is a great thing, I think, to have with your business, because it makes you so true to everything you do. I take things really personally. If I ever hear of a customer who's not totally happy, I won't be happy until we put it right. I couldn't think of anything worse than a customer who spent money on kit, and then you imagine them looking at it and not every time they see it just feeling a bit, not having a great taste about it. So I do everything. I go out of my way to make sure that customers are totally happy with what they've got. And the hard thing, as we've grown, with me coming away from dealing with customers and then having other people deal with customers, the hard thing over the years, we've got there now, but it's always been tough up until a couple of years ago, is ingraining that in other people. I think I'm not good at managing people. I get lazy and just struggle to find the enthusiasm to manage people properly. So I kind of leave people to do things, and then maybe they're not doing them right. And we found one of the hard things I found as I moved away from being the person that speaks to all the customers is having other people do that, but still being as motivated and as driven as me to make sure they're 100% happy. That's taken time. That's taken a long time to get the right team that care as much as I care about how the customer feels with the product they've got at the end of the day.
What excites you the most about the future of Watson? What gets you out of bed every day? What do you think is the biggest driving force for you to turn up here and deal with all these people? Because I know you don't necessarily do it for the money, you do it for more than that. So what is it that's kind of...
Well, I still love, right from the start, the first thing I really enjoyed was making something, seeing customers being happy with it, seeing their clients getting on it and using it. So I still really love that. I love seeing orders go out the door every day. I really enjoy that, which is why I'm quite often walking around doing Instagram videos of things as they're going out. So I still really love that. But then bigger than that is like planning our growth. And as we said about like investing in machines, that it's going to make us more efficient. Making us more efficient because I then know that our customers will have a better experience in terms of the quality of the kit being even better, lead times coming down because our lead times can sometimes be quite long. So looking at any future thing and having a plan in mind of where we're going to be and how we're going to get there, planning that course of how we're going to get there, I find that really exciting. That's why I tend to wake up thinking about. But still always the basics of making some kit, selling it to somebody, especially when it's like somebody who's never bought from us before, because our order book is generally made up of 60 to 70% repeat custom.
Wow.
But people coming back. Yeah, it's only about 30% new customers. But those 30% is really good because you know they're probably going to stay with us.
But they're going
to grow into the comeback customers. So so when we're making orders for people that have never bought from us before, and I'm checking to make sure it's as it should be, and seeing it go out the door, that's always exciting to me.
And quickly, with obviously viewers can't see, but obviously got a whopping great extension going on over the road. What was the reason for that going on?
But it's purely to keep up with capacity. As we said, we want to make products that are so good everyone wants to buy them. And thankfully people are buying them, and they're buying them at a rate where we can't keep up as we are now. So the new factory it won't double our capacity, but it will almost double capacity. So bring the lead time right down, and which will grow again because we generally find as the lead time comes down to maybe a month or 2 months, naturally, organically, more orders come in. So the idea of that is to help us fulfill the orders that we have.
That would be cool as well because we'll get a video of that. We've been videoing that since the kind of birth of that.
Yes, we get some good videos there, but it's also great because we get a lot of people come to see us, and that's something we want to improve. We want to encourage getting more people to come in and visit us. And now, when we're in a couple of months, when people do come and visit, it would be a worthwhile trip, even for people travelling a long way. We make amazing coffee, and we can give people a really good tour of the factory.
And good whiskey. So
incredible whiskey, yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.